Okay, so close us out on this game. I'll give you a question because I think this is sort of a fluid, moving topic. So, two questions. One, if LSU was considering hanging on to Ed Orgeron, does this put the nail in the coffin? And two, if the nail is in the coffin, close us out with three of your top candidates now in week 13 for the LSU job.
Does it put the nail in the coffin? I don't think it does. I mean, it's a hard thing to say, and it seems a little bizarre to say that, that's not in the coffin with this loss to Florida. I think it did a tremendous amount of damage. I know people are very upset, but there are also a ton of people that just love Ed Orgeron in that community. So I think he will be considered, just like the way Miles' job was saved against A&M last year. I think LSU has a chance to make a statement against Texas A&M. And given the state of A&M right now, which seems to be in absolute sort of disrepair, losing to Ole Miss did not look impressive at all against Texas San Antonio. LSU may come back, bounce back, win that game, maybe even resoundingly. And, they blow out A&M, and who knows, he may end up being the coach. There may be enough groundswell. If he's not hired, the coach you hire is Jimbo Fisher. I don't think it's close. You may want Tom Herman. You're not going to get him. Texas or Southern Cal has more money. Southern Cal's probably not going to hire a coach at this point, but Texas is going to probably hire Tom Herman, and you can't outbid Texas. But, Fisher, and I know some people are sort of skeptical, but the guy's won a national title. He's actually won a national title. He recruits top 5 classes year in and year out. He recruits Heisman quarterbacks, coaches them up. He's coached up multiple first-round draft pick quarterbacks. You want somebody that'll revitalize your offense and see better quarterback play and can recruit and can win a national title. Jimbo Fisher is probably one of 3 or 4 quarterbacks, coaches in the country, rather, they can check all those boxes. And unlike the rest of them, he's actually available to hire because Florida State, they pay Fisher pretty well. But the reason they lost Pruitt to Georgia at Florida State is that they don't pay the assistants jack squat. They just don't have the money. So you can get Jimbo Fisher. A lot of breath, but he's the one you go get. And if he's not available for whatever reason, it's tough. Maybe Larry Fedora at North Carolina is probably a decent hire and a decent shot. I think the guy's been very, very good. It's probably too soon, and I don't really trust guys like, there's talk about Fuente at Virginia Tech, or, maybe Mike McIntyre at Colorado is somebody you could consider. It's still early for him, but he's done a pretty good job turning around that program. The point being, though, the moment you step down from Jimbo Fisher, it's a big leap. It really is almost Jimbo Fisher or bust, in my opinion.
So if you're doing Jimbo Fisher or bust, is it more like Jimbo Fisher, and if you can't get him, you stick with Ed Orgeron?
Oh, me. I do not.
Not you, but LSU.
Oh, gosh. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think you do. Because if you stick with Orgeron, there's going to be a lot of pressure to keep him longer term. You're going to have a hard time firing him next year, and you get stuck with him for 3 or 4 years. And if he doesn't pan out, that creates a lot of problems. If you're going to go ahead and do that and roll the dice on somebody, then I think you'd go with somebody like McIntyre and just see how he works out. Because if he doesn't work out, you wasted a couple years, so be it. But you don't want to, you go really high or you go high risk. But if you go like middling to good, then you have you're in serious danger of seeing your program continue to decline, but not enough that you can fire him quickly. And that's how programs really slip. It's the way Florida slipped over time, right? When Meyer left and Muschamp continued to do pretty well, but not quite as well. And every year was a little bit worse. And now all of a sudden, they're down where they don't want to be. I mean, that's what you want to avoid.
And I think, you've mentioned before this concept of there being a lack of parity in college football. And I think what you mean by that is there's some parity at the very top for a handful, just a few teams. And then there's some parity below that, but it's such a far step below that there is no parity between the two. And if that's accurate, I think it's reflected in what you're saying, where, there might be a lot of talent to go around, but in terms of coaching, there's not that much talent going around. There is a handful of really good coaches, and then once you take a step down from that, it's a massive, massive step down, or at least it's a huge risk.
No, I absolutely agree. You hear people complain about the Bob Stoops of the world quite a bit, but I mean, you really have to understand. There's probably only about 15 elite coaches in the country right now. And, there's hot seats for Sumlin that got cooled off and hot again. Malzahn's been on the kind of a similar roller coaster, but you kind of have to step back and realize how rare it is to find really good coaches in the sport right now. There just aren't very many of them. And, one of the interesting things for the SEC is so many teams held pat that a lot of the up and comers have kind of gone on to other conferences. And maybe, some of these guys like McIntyre or Fuente or they may be actually, Fedora might actually be kind of blowing up, and you can still hire those guys away. And it's giving them time to develop. But yeah, I mean, they're just like, you look at most coaching searches, and it's amazing how fast you go from Jimbo Fisher and Tom Herman, and then quickly you're looking at Bobby Petrino, and you're looking at Larry Fedora, and you're looking at Dan Mullen or something, because there's like 10, 15 of those high level coaches, and of those, probably 10 of them are dead set in whatever program they happy to be right now. You're not going to be able to lure them away. It's just, elite coaching talent is worth its weight in gold.